Welcome to the Sage Solutions podcast, where we talk about all things personal growth, personal development, and becoming your best self. My name is David Sage, and I am a self-worth and confidence coach with Sage Coaching Solutions. I'm so glad you're here today. We're diving into something that comes up for a lot of us this time of year: expectations. Specifically, the heightened expectations we face during the holiday season and how those expectations can impact our peace of mind and overall well-being as the year wraps up, as well as the expectations that we have for ourselves and for the people around us.
Hopefully you don't have too high of expectations for this podcast.
You're such a dork. Well, if they did, they plummeted now.
Well, if you haven't figured out already, I'm back to the podcast, and I'm excited to be here. If you haven't already heard me on other podcast episodes, my name's Anna Sage. I'm David's younger sister, and I'm one of the two regular reoccurring co-hosts on the Sage Solutions podcast.
Good to have you as always. Now, I don't know about you, but when the holidays come around, it feels like suddenly there's this big weight of expectations, both from the world around us and from ourselves. We're expecting to be cheerful, to have everything together, to make everything perfect for ourselves and for others. We're also thinking about the end of the year, where we want to be and what we want to have accomplished. When you put that all together, it can be a lot. So, today, I want to talk about all of this and break it down little by little. We'll dive into the expectations that show up this time of year, why they can set us up for disappointment, and how we can navigate it in a healthier way. So let's get into it.
Before we get into it, our goal with this podcast is to share free, helpful tools with you and anyone you know who's looking to improve their life. So take action, subscribe, and share this podcast with them.
When we think about the holidays, we often envision family gatherings, perfectly wrapped gifts, festive parties, and of course the image of ourselves being calm, collected, and happy throughout it all. Almost like a collage of all of our best memories from different holidays jammed into one holiday. But the reality is, for many of us, the holiday can be stressful. There's pressure to get everything done, to find the perfect gift, to create magical moments, and even to keep up with the seemingly endless stream of social media posts showing everyone else's perfect holiday celebrations. What we do need to remember is that people aren't posting the negative things that happen during their holidays, just the highlights. So don't compare your holidays to other people's. A lot of these expectations are external. They come from the world around us. Society has this idea of what the holidays should look like, and I think we all feel that pull in different ways, whether it's through family, social media, or just the general cultural narrative of what's expected during this time of year. Especially when it comes to the holidays, things get a little complicated when we're talking about expectations because there are so many traditions involved in the holiday season, which are basically just ingrained routines that people look forward to every year. And don't get me wrong, holiday traditions can be a wonderful thing, but they are also wrought with expectations from the family members around us as well as ourselves. And if somebody wants to do something different than what that tradition is, that can easily bend a lot of people out of shape and ruin their expectations for the holidays.
Right. So even if the tradition itself goes smoothly and other people are very pleased with the result, if one person's expectations aren't met inside their head, from their perspective, they're disappointed and let down.
Yeah, it can even be a small variation, but maybe that thing that you varied was a really important part of that tradition for one individual, but maybe not for another. It's almost impossible to meet everyone's expectations, especially because so many of them go unspoken.
I was just thinking that. I think the hardest part about expectations is they're all stories you're telling yourself about future events in your own head. And you're not necessarily sharing them with other people that are involved in those events. So even if you and I, David, are going to the same event, I may have a completely different vision or expectation of how that should go than what you think in your head. And if we don't talk about that with each other, you could think it goes great, and I could be incredibly disappointed.
That's exactly right. Other people are always going to have expectations or opinions about things, and half of these you're never going to truly know because they're inside of other people's heads, which is why we can't be just living our lives, judging ourselves and trying to meet the standards of other people's opinions, because likely more than half of the time we don't even know what their opinions or expectations are.
So true. A lot of times we're making a story in our own minds about what they're thinking in their heads, and it's like thinking about thinking, and you don't even truly know.
Now, I don't want to miss the point that there are definitely times where people make their expectations very clearly known, and I don't want to just glance over that either. Especially when it comes to holidays, I think a lot of expectations are actually vocalized even more about, like, we want it done this way because this is how it's always been done. Mm-hmm. So dealing with the vocalized expectations, or even the unvocalized but very clearly known expectations of family members, of friends during these holiday events, can definitely be a bit of a maze to navigate. But there's another layer of this, and that's the expectations that we place on ourselves. We think, I should be more present. I should be more grateful. I should be able to handle everything with ease. I should enjoy every moment. I should be giving. I should be this perfect version of myself. Sound familiar?
These are some of the expectations that go through my head when it comes to gift giving. I should be spending more on the people I love when I get them gifts. Or I should know exactly what the most meaningful, perfect gift should be so that this person knows how much I care about them and feels as loved as I want them to from my gift. Or I should be spending less because I really don't have the budget for this year.
And the hardest part about that was that some of those straight up conflicted with each other. And then there's when we combine some of these things, like where we put expectations on ourselves, not even because we truly believe that we should meet that expectation, but because we just don't want to be seen as less than somebody else, that we're expecting them to be this good at something. Or when we put expectations on ourselves because we're trying to read somebody's mind so that we're meeting their expectations. It all just becomes a big, crazy pile
of pressure.
So here's the thing. These expectations are setting us up for disappointment because no one can meet the perfect standard of holiday happiness, and no one can do everything flawlessly. Perfection isn't possible. So when things don't go as planned, or when we fall short of our own expectations, it can lead to feelings of frustration, guilt, burnout, and even shame.
But are having high expectations for holiday gatherings always necessarily a bad thing? What about when you're looking forward to it so much that in the meantime it brings you a lot of joy and excited anticipation and something to look forward to during your days in the lead up? Can't that be a good thing?
It definitely can be a good thing. But I want to make a little bit of a distinction between expecting something and looking forward to or hoping for something. An expectation means that it better happen. If you're hoping for something to happen, yeah, you might be a little let down if it doesn't, but it comes from a different connotation, right?
Yeah, like there's less weight behind hoping than behind an expectation.
Right. I think we can set a positive intention and we can hope to have a really good time, but I think if we expect certain things to happen, then we're only going to be really disappointed if they don't.
So rather than pulling from your favorite traditions and memories and setting expectations so that they'll be the same and you'll get to relive those experiences again. Maybe you just reminisce on how they brought you joy in the past and have hope for more joy and more of those same feelings without the expectations of every factor having to be the same in order to achieve that same sense of joy.
I think that's a really helpful way to go about it. But what about negative expectations?
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Because on the reverse end, if you're thinking about a future holiday gathering or tradition and thinking, oh gosh, this is going to be awful, or just not looking forward to it, yeah, maybe you're saving yourself from disappointment, but is it worth sitting in all of that anxiety and fear?
But let me play devil's advocate here. If you set your expectations very negatively and very low, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you expect things to go poorly, wouldn't you just be positively surprised if they don't?
I guess, but I think you're setting yourself up for making it negative when maybe it wouldn't have been in the first place.
I could not agree more. If you are expecting the worst thing to happen, some people would say that you are manifesting it. What I'm saying is you are priming yourself to go in as if it already happened. You are putting yourself in a negative space, which is likely just going to drag others down and in a way, quote unquote, manifest it in your life because you are approaching it as if it's already not going well.
Yes, and honestly, I'd rather not put myself through the mental agony of expecting things to be negative beforehand, because then even if it is better than I thought, I already had to go through all of the oh, this is going to be awful, and so I had a negative experience anyways.
It's the exact opposite of the one argument that you were making for positive expectations. You are putting yourself through the dread for all of the time before.
Yep, that's the word I was looking for.
Just to possibly be happily surprised.
Right, not worth it.
We're looking for a shades of gray approach. We're looking for something that kind of meets in the middle so that you're not only doing it for the before or only doing it for the during.
Yeah, more like a mindfulness approach. Let's go into it being present during the event and not have this big lead up, negative or positive, beforehand.
Before I forget, though, I do want to get into the end of year expectations because the end of the year happens to coincide with the holiday season. So there are a bunch of expectations that come along with the fact that the year is ending. And there are also people that don't celebrate the same holidays or any holidays during this period of time. And that's okay too. Depending on your job, there may be some pretty powerful end-of-year pressures, especially if you're in any sort of building or manufacturing to get certain jobs out before the year is done.
On the flip side, maybe your job provides you with a year-end bonus or something that you look forward to at the end of each year.
Yes. As the calendar winds down, we start to reflect on the year. We ask ourselves questions like, did I achieve all the goals I set out for myself? Have I made enough progress? Where do I stand in comparison to others? This feeling of needing to close out the year successfully can be a huge source of stress, especially when we feel like we didn't live up to our own standards or expectations. Now, there's nothing wrong with having some expectations for ourselves in the form of having some standards so that we don't let our life fall into shambles. But we have to keep these within reason.
Right, because I think you and I could both agree, you never know what a year is going to bring. And although I may have set some great intentions or expectations at the beginning of this 2024 year, I had no clue how much change and, frankly, heartache was going to happen. Well, change both good and bad. And so a lot of the expectations or hopes that I had changed or became really difficult because of challenges that arose.
This is why we've had several different episodes talking about a lot of the different aspects of the holidays: grief, anxiety, and dealing with social situations. All of these can make the holidays harder, and that's why we need to show ourselves some compassion. We also talked about maintaining discipline so that you do end the year strong and start the next year even stronger. You've probably noticed, too, that the end of the year is often when people start to set new goals. There's this idea that we can reset and start fresh, but sometimes these year-end expectations can be overly ambitious or unrealistic. We put pressure on ourselves to create this new version of ourselves instantly and out of nowhere, even if it's not realistic given our current circumstances or mental energy. So why do expectations set us up for disappointment? Well, both high and low expectations for the holidays or the end of the year can lead to disappointment. First off, expectations are often built on a fantasy or an idealized version of how things should be. But life doesn't operate in the perfect framework. As much as we want to control every aspect of the holiday season or the end of the year, life is messy. It's not a puppet show. We don't have full control over what everyone does. Things happen, plans fall through, family dynamics shift, time gets away from us, and when things inevitably don't match up to this fantasy that we've created in our minds, that's when disappointment creeps in. Another reason expectations can set us up for disappointment is that we're often comparing our reality to others' curated versions of reality. Social media is a prime example of this. Everyone posting pictures of their perfect holiday meal, their gorgeous home decorations, their happy family moments. But we have to remember that what we see online is often just a small snapshot, not the full picture. It's easy to get caught up in that comparison trap and feel like we're falling short when in reality, no one is perfect.
We don't see the argument that happened when they put the lights up on the beautiful, perfect, picturesque lawn.
We don't see the gift that didn't come in time because of the shipping.
Or the immense amount of pressure that the mom is putting on herself as she's trying to order the perfect gifts for her smiling kids in that picture.
Or the night that person might have spent crying out of grief.
Maybe that mom with the smiling kids, or your neighbor with the beautiful lights all over her house, is envious of how much peace you have at your family gathering.
What if they don't even enjoy those lights, but they have so much anxiety about being judged for not putting them up that they do it anyways?
Our point here is you really never know, so don't let social media dictate how you're going to think about the holidays.
Let's look at this from a psychological angle. Studies show that high expectations, whether they're about our holidays or our year-end achievements, can significantly impact our happiness. One study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that the greater the gap between what we expect and what actually happens, the more likely we are to experience dissatisfaction and frustration. So when our expectations are set too high, we create a setup for disappointment. In another study from the American Psychological Association, it found that people who have unrealistic expectations around the holidays experience more stress and anxiety. The researchers suggest that this stress comes from the constant pressure to live up to unrealistic standards, which is often compounded by the demands of the holiday season.
Okay, so what do we do about all of this? How can we manage these high expectations and reduce the disappointment that comes with them?
Well, here are a few tips and tricks that might help. First, lower your bar. This might sound counterintuitive, but lowering your expectations, or if possible, removing them altogether, can actually help you feel more at peace. Instead of aiming for perfection, or, on the flip side, expecting things to fail, just aim for good enough. Give yourself permission to not do it all, and not be everything to everyone. Second, Focus on the present. Rather than constantly comparing this holiday season or end-of-year moment to an idealized version in your head, try to focus on what's happening right now. Take a moment and be present. What are the small moments that you can savor? The smell of pine, the sound of your favorite holiday song, the comfort of spending time with people you care about. Those moments matter more than that perfect Instagram shot. Third, communicate your needs. If you're feeling overwhelmed, let people know. We often feel pressure to keep up appearances and act like everything is fine. But that's just not realistic. By being open about your needs, you create space for others to be understanding, which can take a huge load off your shoulders. And remember, when you're feeling overwhelmed, focus on your locus. Try and stay in the present and use small, simple steps. Fourth, give yourself grace. As you approach the end of the year, reflect on what you've accomplished, but don't forget to recognize all the small wins that might not be obvious. You've made it through another year. You're still alive. You've learned lessons, you've grown, and you've survived challenges. Give yourself credit for those things and more.
I really want to double down on the gratitude of your second point of being present, because I think people cue into, I really want to be present. But if you try to be present without gratitude, it doesn't really take away the pressure of expectations and hopes. It's when you're present with gratitude, when you're in the moment and you're noticing little things around you that you're so grateful for, like your friend that you can give a hug because you haven't seen them in months, your child's smile and laughter, the snow falling from the sky and how beautiful it looks on the trees, or even feeling gratitude for the Christmases of your past, the things you remember fondly and the traditions you had, even if they're not the same anymore, or if things have changed and there is a lot of sadness or hardship in your life right now. Bringing yourself back to being present with gratitude helps you find even the smallest things that take that weight off your shoulders. There's always something to be grateful for in every day.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, because being present can still be helpful because it can help ground you or take you out of an unhelpful thought process. But the gratitude is what really gets you out of the expectations. It's almost impossible to be thinking about how something let you down or let your expectations down and be grateful for something at the same time. They're almost opposites. Before we wrap this up, I want to leave you with two powerful quotes to think about. The first is from the great Brené Brown, who said, "Perfectionism is not the path to joy. It's the path to exhaustion." This is such an important reminder. Perfectionism and the pressure to meet unrealistic expectations only lead to burnout. True joy comes from embracing imperfection.
Woo, we love a good Brené.
Yeah, this is definitely not the first time I've brought her up. And the second quote is from Albert Einstein, actually. He said, "The measure of who we are is what we do with what we have." I love this one because it shifts the focus from the big, perfect vision to the everyday actions that we take. It's a reminder that you don't have to meet some idealized version of the holidays or the end of the year to feel successful. What you do with what you have right now is what truly matters. So, as you move through the holidays and finish out the year, I hope this episode gives you permission to drop some of those heavy expectations. Give yourself space to enjoy things as they are. And know that perfection is overrated. Both the holidays, as well as life, are full of messy, beautiful moments that are more than enough.
My biggest takeaway from this episode is that setting expectations is not very helpful. Rather than setting positive or very negative expectations for what's to come, it's more helpful to approach with an open mind, curiosity, hope, and intentions for how I'm going to approach what's coming ahead.
I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, full of peace, joy, and even maybe a little bit of gratitude. And remember, you are enough, and you deserve confidence and self-compassion. Thank you for listening to the Sage Solutions podcast. Your time is valuable, and I'm so glad you choose to learn and grow here with me. We'd love to hear your feedback, so click the link in the description and let us know what you think. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on more sage advice. One last thing, the legal language. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. No coaching-client relationship is formed. It is not intended as a substitute for the personalized advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional.